Joining me now, the Senate's third-ranking Democrat, who you just saw there, Chuck Schumer, who joins us from his home state of New York at our bureau there this morning. And with me here in the museum, Senator Jeff Sessions of Alabama, the ranking Republican on the Budget Committee. Senators, thank you very much for joining me. Well, you saw John Carl's piece, and there's, you know, a lot of hijinks in that piece. Let's get to the bottom of what's going on. Senator Sessions, has any progress been made this weekend amongst negotiators?
I don't know that it has.
Is that a no?
Well, I don't know that it has. Mr. Boehner, the Speaker, has indicated that he has not reached an agreement, so has Mitch McConnell, a Republican leader. So I think that negotiations continue, and they need to continue. But what this is, Christiane, we really need to understand, this is more than a Republican-Democratic squabble. This is a question, the fundamental question is, are we headed to a financial crisis if we don't get off the fiscal course we're on? We've had witness after witness say that's so. Erskine Bowles said, President Obama's choice to head the debt commission. We're facing the most predictable debt crisis in American history. It could happen within 2 years.
Let me ask you.
We've got to take action now.
And we'll get to that. Senator Schumer, from your perspective, has any progress been made? Will there be a shutdown in 5 days?
Yes. No, I don't. Excuse me. I don't think there'll be a shutdown, Christiane. In fact, I'm quite optimistic. I think progress is being made. They're working off a number, $33 billion of cuts. That's very reasonable. It's right in between what Democrats have proposed and Republicans have proposed, right in the middle. And after all, that was the number proposed originally by the House Republican leaders, Ryan and Rogers, the head of the Appropriations Committee. So they're working off that number. That's good. Now we have to figure out what goes into the number, and that's where the discussions are headed. Let me just say a word about that. We have two goals here. Jeff is right. We have to deal with the deficit very seriously. But we also have to deal with the economy and job growth. And we don't want to snuff that out, particularly when we're beginning to see jobs grow. If you just cut from domestic discretionary, you'll have to cut things like helping students go to college. You'll have to cut scientific research, including cancer research. These things have created millions of jobs through the years. And so the good news is this. There's another place we can look to cut, not just on domestic discretionary. It's called mandatory spending. It requires you to do something for somebody, but the way of doing it is not required. And we can find cuts in places like agriculture and justice and banking. These are now being called chimps.
Chimps.
Chimps, yes. Changes in mandatory program spending. And we've offered about $10 billion of those to our Republican colleagues. They're not adverse to them because H.R. 1 had some of them in.
Well,
and I believe that's how we can come to an agreement that both keeps job growth and cuts the deficit at about the $33 billion level, and I believe that's where we'll end up.
You've raised a number of issues there. Let me first quickly ask Senator Sessions, we're talking about the job numbers, do you think that's good news? Obviously, the job numbers have increased, the unemployment rate has come down, lowest in 2 years.
Well, it's really high.
It is, but it's come down. Is that good?
Not much. This was a good month. This was a good month of a little over 200,000. We need to average 250,000 jobs, though, a month. In the last 3 months, we've only averaged 124,000 new jobs. We are well below where we need to be. One of the reasons, as the testimony of Secretary Geithner, President Obama's Secretary of Treasury, testified that the debt is pulling down our growth and creates a threat of a crisis that could put us back into recession. We've got to make changes now.
Can you live with this short-term method here? Can you live with the $33 billion in cuts?
I really believe we should do 61 total, as the House proposed, over 10 years. That would amount to a savings of $860 billion. We have to borrow this money. The House has sent a bill over that reduces what is before us. Discretionary spending, CR, is the only thing before us. They proposed 61. The Democrats started at about 4 or 5. They've now been pushed up to halfway. I think we should go all the way. But we'll have to let our leaders work on this and see, hopefully, an agreement that goes as far as possible.
As this haggling continues, I'm going to ask you, Senator Sessions, Speaker Boehner this week basically said, and I think it's sarcasm, thank you guys for painting me into a box. That's just where I want to be, talking about the conservatives, the Tea Partiers. Have they kind of held the Republican leadership sort of hostage in these negotiations?
Christiane, that's the Democratic spin. That's the way
this is what Speaker Boehner said.
That, but I'm just telling you what the real deal is. This week, the House, Republican House, will submit a mature, serious budget for long-term reform of spending in America that will avoid a debt crisis this country is facing in 2 years, according to Mr. Erskine Bowles. The Democrats have no plan except the president's plan, which makes the debt worse than the current trajectory we are on. It raises taxes. It increases spending even more. It doubles the debt. Will take interest from $200 billion last year in 1 year to $900 billion in 10 years, crowding out all kinds of social programs and beneficial programs that Senator Schumer has talked about.
Right. Senator
Well, let me
Schumer,
say this, Christiane. Yeah, I have a lot of sympathy for Speaker Boehner because he does want to come to an agreement. He knows how devastating a shutdown would be. That's his words, not ours, although we all agree on that. The one group that's standing in the way here is the Tea Party. Now, they have said that a shutdown is a good thing. You saw it on that tape. Some of their leaders have said it over and over again. Sarah Palin, Mike Pence, Michelle Bachmann. They say it's our way or no way. Well, that's not how the American government works. And I would say this, though. Here's the good news. The American people are seeing the Tea Party for what it is, extreme, and their popularity is declining. They now have only 33% of people in support of them and 47% people against them. And when they lose clout, it makes an agreement much more likely.
Right, let me ask you
another
this.
reason I'm optimistic about
let me just ask you this before we turn to you, Senator Sessions. Today, or rather this week, you sort of stepped in it, sort of recording-wise. You were caught briefing your fellow senators on how to address this issue. Didn't know, apparently, the reporters were still on the conference call. Let's just play that, because it plays right into the spin and the language about what's going on right now.
I always use the word extreme. That's what the caucus instructed me to do the other week. Extreme cuts and all these riders. And Boehner's in a box. But if he supports the Tea Party, there's going to inevitably be a shutdown.
Now, you know, Christiane, I have no problem with reporters hearing that. I said it a few hours before on the floor of the Senate. I've said it on this show. The Tea Party is the group standing in the way. They are extreme. Any group that says you don't cut oil subsidies to companies making billions and billions of dollars, subsidies that were passed when the price of oil was $17 to encourage production, and now the price is over $100, and at the same time says cut student aid to help qualified students go to college, yeah.
Right.
I believe they're extreme.
Okay.
And I have no problem with that.
Extreme and holding the party hostage.
Is absolutely false. Millions of Americans participated in the Tea Parties. Tens of millions of Americans support and believe what they're saying, and they are right fundamentally. Maybe they don't understand all the realities of Washington politics.
But are they right
fundamentally, they know this country is on a path to fiscal disaster, as Erskine Bowles said, as Secretary Geithner said, as Alan Greenspan has said. We are heading, and this Democratic leadership proposes nothing but to attack the people who are trying to get this country on the right course.
Do you believe there'll be a shutdown?
Oh, I hope not.
But do you think there will be?
I doubt it. I doubt there'll be a shutdown.
All right. Well, both of you agree on that. And of course, we do have to talk at another time about these huge mega issues, which really right now is tinkering around the edges, isn't it?
That is correct.
Big
we need to be talking about trillions of dollars.
Precisely. And we'll have you back.
The president has no plan whatsoever to deal with it.
Well,
there seems to be no plan in general. We'll discuss that the next time.
That's not so at all.
Thank you very much indeed for being on this program. And tell us your thoughts on the war on Capitol Hill. Tweet me at #BudgetBattle.